Eli always sat by the window. Every morning at exactly 7:40 a.m., he slipped into the same seat at the back of the classroom, resting his chin against his palm as he stared outside. It was as if the world beyond the glass was whispering something only he could hear. No one ever sat beside him, not because he was strange, not because he was unfriendly, but because Eli carried silence the way other people carried confidence. I noticed him on the very first day of senior year. Sunlight always found him, brushing through his hair like it belonged there, and when he smiled, rare and fleeting, it felt like something fragile had been placed gently in my hands. I told myself not to stare. I failed every single day. Everything changed the day the teacher said, "Pair up." Names were read aloud for a semester-long project. Mine first, then his. Eli looked up startled, his eyes meeting mine for half a second before drifting away. I walked toward him, heart pounding louder than my footsteps. "Hi," I said, hoping my voice didn't give me away. "Hey," he replied, barely above a whisper. That was all, one word, but it felt like the beginning of something dangerous. We worked in silence at first, not awkward, just careful, like two people standing too close to something fragile. Then one afternoon, he laughed, quiet, unguarded. The sound stayed with me long after the room emptied. Eli liked late-night convenience stores and black coffee he never finished. He listened more than he spoke. When I asked why he always sat by the window, he shrugged and said, "It reminds me that there's more out there, even if I never go." We started studying together, then walking home, then sitting on the same bench after school, close enough that our arms brushed, but never close enough to admit it meant something. I learned his small habits without trying. He hummed when he was nervous. He avoided mirrors. He wrote poems but never showed anyone. Somewhere along the way, I became the person he searched for in crowded rooms. That realization terrified me. Feelings don't arrive loudly. They sit quietly beside you until you realize they've rearranged your entire heart. I knew I liked him when I memorized the sound of his footsteps. I knew I loved him when his sadness hurt more than my own. But I didn't say anything, because loving a boy like Eli felt like loving a secret the world wasn't ready to hear. One evening, sitting on that familiar bench, he asked softly, "Do you ever feel like you're pretending?" I stayed silent. "Like you're playing a role everyone expects, and if you stop, everything falls apart." I looked at him then, really looked, and saw fear in his eyes. The rain started suddenly one night, forcing us under the same umbrella, our shoulders pressed together, breaths shallow. When we reached his apartment door, time slowed. Neither of us moved. He began, then stopped. I wanted to take his hand. I wanted to say his name like a promise, but fear spoke louder than love. So I smiled. "See you tomorrow." The disappointment he tried to hide stayed with me longer than the rain. After that, Eli grew distant. He stopped sitting by the window, stopped walking home with me. When I asked if he was okay, he said yes too quickly. Distance doesn't always come with anger. Sometimes it comes quietly, like someone turning the volume down on your life. I missed him constantly, but I missed us even more, the version of us that almost existed. Graduation night arrived with fireworks lighting a sky we barely watched. "I can't do this anymore," Eli said suddenly. "Do what?" I asked. "Pretend you don't mean everything to me." My heart stopped. "I like you," he said, voice trembling. "More than I should, more than I know how to explain." I wanted to apologize for waiting, for being afraid. Instead, I told the truth. "I've loved you longer than I'll ever admit." He inhaled sharply, then smiled, the real one. This time when I reached for his hand, he didn't pull away. Loving him didn't solve everything. We were still scared, still learning, still unsure. But love isn't about certainty. It's about choosing someone, even when the path isn't clear. Eli doesn't sit by the window anymore. He sits beside me, and sometimes that feels like the bravest thing either of us has ever done. Some loves arrive quietly, and if you're brave enough to listen, they change